post-jump plans. When Jake checked on their hangover status this morning, he was told that everyone was functional. Apparently Charlie and the others had jumped off the Southern Hemisphere's tallest building not once, but twice. They'd been the last group of the day, and when, high on adrenaline, they'd asked the instructor if they could book another jump even though jumps were over for the day. He'd winked and taken them up for free, none of which Jake was authorized to reveal. While the women jumped off tall buildings, the men had gone blackwater rafting deep in the caves of Waitomo, finishing off the day with beers around a campfire. Included in the group had been a number of others. Those men were already in the church, acting as ushers, while the 6 of them stood in Sailor's large living area, only minutes from getting into cars for the drive to the ceremony. It was the second time in his life that Jake was to be a groomsman. The first had been 8 years ago at Sailor's wedding. He'd been a carefree 16-year-old kid then, with no awareness that his life was about to change forever in the 2 years to come. That kid might be long gone, to be replaced by a single dad with the sweetest little girl anyone could want. But one thing hadn't changed. He was as happy for Gabe as he'd been for Sailor.
"So you're leaving for your honeymoon right after the reception?"
Fox said after Danny helped him knot his tie. Fox could belt out a rock anthem like nobody's business, but he was no expert at the whole suit and tie business.
"Yeah."
Gabe stood in place while Harry pinned a rose to the lapel of his suit jacket. Fashioned from the pages of an old romance novel, the floral artwork looked ridiculously delicate against Gabriel's stone-gray suit, but the juxtaposition worked, just like Charlotte and Gabriel did. The last part of the men's outfit would be the open lays of green foliage they'd wear around their necks, the ends falling on either side of their chests, a respectful nod to Gabriel's stepfather's culture.
"Flights to Samoa are all booked. Bags are packed and waiting in the car."
A smile creased Gabriel's cheeks. Jake's phone rang into the low murmur of male voices. Glancing down, he felt his stomach clench.
"I better take this. It's Coach."
His brothers all looked over.
"Good luck,"
they said in unison. Breath tight in his lungs, Jake ducked out and into the rambling garden of Sailor and Issa's sprawling, single-level villa. He loved his brothers, but couldn't take this call in front of them. He needed time to gather himself back together and prepare to lie through his teeth if it turned out to be bad news. No fucking way would he ruin Gabe's wedding day. The grass was a lush green under the winter sunlight, the vines crawling up one side of the villa dotted with small blooms of bluish-white. Camellias in blush pink glowed against the fence in the distance, behind a garden planted with winter color. Jake recognized the vibrant pansies and yellow-orange polyanthus blooms because he'd helped plant them. A child's bike stood propped beside the garden, its frame a glossy red and the handlebars festooned with ribbons. Jake saw it all, processed none of it.
"Coach,"
he said after putting the phone to his ear.
"Just give it to me straight."
He'd been out with a broken arm for a good chunk of the previous season, but he'd played his heart out for his regional team, the Harriers, in the months leading up to selection for New Zealand's upcoming championship series against Argentina, Australia, and South Africa. The Harriers had taken the regional championship, though their arch-rivals, the Southern Blizzard, had made them earn the trophy. The pundits were predicting a heavy Harrier and Blizzard presence in the national squad, along with several standouts from teams that hadn't shown as a group. That squad was being announced on Wednesday. Danny's selection was a certainty, his current form phenomenal. According to all 3 of his brothers, Jake was the best first 5/8 in the world right now, but the New Zealand selectors had a deep pool in which to fish, and the shadow of injury haunted him. Also, no one usually called the players ahead of the official announcement. Legend was, Coach only called when it was bad news, like if a player was being permanently dropped.
"I figured you'd say that,"
Coach Lincoln Graves said.
"Short version, you've done a fine job in getting back into fighting shape and you're playing the best I've ever seen you play. Safe hands and magic feet. Well done, Jake. You'll be in the squad we announce next week."
Jake slumped against the white wall of the villa.
"I'm giving you an early heads up because I wanted you and your brothers to feel free to celebrate the wedding without this hanging over your head."
Coach continued, his voice barely penetrating the buzz in Jake's skull.
"If anyone but Gabriel, Sailor, Danny, or your parents ask, you know nothing."
Jake managed to get out a few words.
"I won't tell anyone else." "Right. I'd better head out. Anita and I'll be late to Gabriel's wedding. Talk more at the reception."
Jake just stood there.